Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well and thanks for being here. So this is another timeless reading that's for somebody out there. My intention is that it will find the person or people it's meant for and at the right time. It's definitely not for everyone, so if the storyline that emerges is not resonating with you, it's probably not for you. You can still watch the whole reading because it's always an intention of mine that anyone who's drawn to one of my readings will gain something from it. Whether it's an insight, a piece of wisdom, or even just the opportunity to see something from a different perspective. So if you happen to be here, I think you're meant to be here. We'll get started shortly, but we just do a little love pause before we start. So this is where we pause the video and we send some love out into the universe. You can also do this as a little Ho'oponopono prayer. So that would be saying the 4 sentences: thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, and please forgive me. Thanks to everyone who does this. The time to pause is now, and I'll start my reading on the next slide. Okay, so this here is the spread that we've got for this reading. If you're interested in the decks I've used, I will have them listed in the description box. Okay, so if you're someone who regularly watches my channel, you'll realize that this reading is a bit late. I did have a busy week, but it's actually a little bit more than that. I prepared another reading and I actually completed it, but I just found once I had done it, I just had no interest in recording it. And so that was a strange experience. It certainly wasn't a bad reading, but what I felt was that it didn't actually matter anymore, which is a strange feeling. I will explain it to you because it was also a for somebody spread, and there was a message that came through, and maybe it is for someone who's watching this video. But what I felt was basically that reading just didn't matter, and it was a good reading. I'll go through it. It was basically about someone, a very good-hearted person who had basically done a lot of healing after the ending of a significant relationship. Now, I don't know if you guys read my Facebook posts, but there was a post I did that seemed like a similar story, and I felt like these two were connected. So that Facebook post, it was titled something like you have become the love that you lost. And like I said, that was also someone who had done so much healing that their heart chakra really had become like it had as much love, they had as much love in their heart as the love they felt for the person they lost. Well, anyway, like I said, it felt related. But in the YouTube spread that I had, the spread I had for the YouTube reading, I had the 7 of Swords in the future position, and that's obviously a card of betrayal or deception. And because it wasn't a nice card to have in the future position, I pulled a clarifier, and I got the message of illumination. So essentially, it wasn't a future betrayal. It was basically like a past betrayal coming to light in the future. And it wasn't clear exactly what that deception related to or betrayal related to. And it could even have related to the relationship that ended in the past. But even though there was this thing coming to light in the future that was going to be unpleasant, I got the overwhelming feeling that you had grown so much that this thing coming to light wasn't even going to upset you. And I say that because you were showing up in that spread as fully healed, and I was getting actually strong temperance vibes. And of course, the temperance card is about alchemy. So it was essentially saying that because you had transmuted all of the pain that you had suffered in the past, you had actually become a master of alchemy. And what that meant was that even if things came up in the future that were going to hurt you, you were just going to be able to take that pain and transmute it with very little difficulty. So you were showing up basically as a master. So really this future revelation of a betrayal or deception, it's just, I mean, like it could be something that another person would experience as like a massive gut punch, but you're not like other people. You're just going to take it in and start processing it and releasing it, and it's not even going to take you that long to do that. And in fact, in that reading, I felt like you had already moved into a new experience of life, like you'd stepped into a different timeline, and the past was really no longer relevant to the life that you were leading or intending to lead into the future. And so I think that's why I was getting that it doesn't matter anymore feeling. So it was really strange to actually do the whole reading and then feel like it's not worth recording. It doesn't have meaning anymore. But that is what happened. And so then I had to start working on a new spread, and this is the spread for this reading. So I guess this video is late, but it's actually including a bonus reading, so it's not too bad. Okay, now in this spread we have the Two of Wands card at the bottom of the deck, and this is a card about seeing a fascinating new direction that you want to move in and starting to do some planning about how you're going to move in that direction. I'm drawn to the subtle rainbow shading on this background. I associate rainbows with blessings, and so I feel like as soon as you noticed this particular opportunity, you felt good about it. So this is like that intuitive yes feeling. I talk a lot about alignment in my work, and basically this yes feeling only happens when you come across something that truly vibes with who you are as a person. So this is how you feel when you meet a genuine soulmate, or this is how you feel when you find a hobby that hooks you in, or when you are shopping and you find something that you absolutely love. So you guys know that feeling where you go, oh yes, that's the one, you know. That feeling is alignment. So I really like this reading already because I love the idea of alignment, as you guys might have figured out. So I feel like this is going to be a good reading. Now, the card we have in the past position is a slightly different vibe. It's the Two of Swords. It's a stuck energy. So this is when your mind and ego are blocking you from taking action on what you're sensing emotionally and intuitively. So this might be like when you stay in a job, even when you know it's not really something you feel good about, or you stay in a relationship even when you know fundamentally it's not working. And it's basically your mind telling you that you have to stay because you don't have anything else to go to or anything better to go to. So our egos are very afraid of some things, like, you know, our egos are afraid of failing, they're afraid of losing, they're afraid of ending up poor or being judged or criticized or laughed at by other people. And these egoic fears can just, you know, keep us a little bit paralyzed in terms of whether they keep us a bit paralyzed, make us unable to take action, even though, you know, on the inside we know what action we want to take. Now, I'm drawn to the similarity of the two images as well, because the Two of Wands, Two of Swords are right next to each other here. In the Two of Wands card, the two wands are pointing you to where you want to go. And in this card, the two swords are blocking you. But you can still see where you want to go, and that's obviously what's being blocked. And in this image, it's being shown as a solar eclipse, which is fascinating. So the Sun card in tarot is the card of happiness and joy, and the Moon card in tarot is the card of fears and illusions. And so this image here of this solar eclipse is basically the Sun being eclipsed by the Moon. So what a great depiction that is of the scenario. But really, the main thing I'm saying is that even if you're too afraid to go there at this point in the story, you do know that the Sun is there. You can still see it behind the Moon, and you know what the Sun represents. So deep down inside, you do know that you want your life to be happy and joyful, like the Sun card, and you do realize that what's in the way are your fears and illusions. So even though you're stuck, you do have some insight into what that situation is. Now, the card in the present position is the Three of Pentacles, and when I first pulled that card out for the spread, I sort of gasped, and that's because, let me explain for those who don't know, but I normally pull the 3 oracle cards first, and then I decide what tarot deck I'm going to choose. So, as you can see here, the second oracle card is titled Sacred Mountain, and then so I had pulled those 3 oracle cards, went to grab my deck, shuffled, pulled cards, and then in the second position again, I get a mountain, and it's the 3 of Pentacles card. So that was quite mind-blowing. It really is, talking about that present position with this mountain. Now, the sacred mountain shown in the oracle card is Machu Picchu in Peru, which is an ancient city that relates to the Incan civilization. And while I don't know a lot about the Incan civilization, I know enough to appreciate that their culture involved a lot of spiritual beliefs and traditions. And I personally do think of mountains as symbolic of the spiritual path, spiritual ascension, to be honest. So I definitely do feel like this is talking about someone who has been on that journey. It's interesting to see the mountain with the Three of Pentacles, though, because I guess I do tend to see the spiritual journey as a somewhat solitary journey. That's been my personal experience, and from what I've seen of others on that journey, they also seem like they're working their way up the mountain on their own. So that's not to say that people don't engage with one another, because that's not true. I certainly have people that I follow online who inspire me because I know they're on a similar journey, and I might comment on a post that they've done or a reading they've done, or I might read comments in their comment section, and some of these people have quite a big online community. So I do see that there are people who are encouraging each other, supporting each other, offering advice to each other. So there is that element of people working together. But in terms of whether people collaborate as teams or like as partnerships or teams, I haven't seen that too much. So those formal collaborations perhaps don't really happen. So my take on it is that, the spiritual ascension journey for every person is an individual journey. And even if you are climbing the same mountain, it's not really possible to know if someone's ahead of you or not. And that's because everyone's taking a slightly different route and everyone's facing slightly different challenges and obstacles. So I don't think there's an easy path or a fast path. I think basically Spirit has a path that's specific for each seeker, and it's really about what that individual soul needs to overcome. So it's definitely not some kind of material world competition where you're going to win a title if you're the first one to the top. In the spiritual journey, the journey itself is meaningful, and getting to the top, yes, it's a significant accomplishment, but really the journey is where you're succeeding, I guess, as you overcome each obstacle that you have to face. So how long it took someone to get to the top is probably more a reflection of how tough their journey was and how much they had to overcome on that journey. And the Coyote Spirit card here is carrying that sort of message as well, because it says trust in divine detours. So if Spirit did take you on an especially complicated, convoluted, difficult journey, there really was a reason for that. So there might have been specific things that you needed to learn about yourself, things that you had to face and overcome for your own growth. And really, that's what the mountain represents for each person. It's their spiritual growth journey. The Coyote Spirit card is a number 16 card, which is the number of the Tower card in Tarot. And I guess the Tower card is about the collapse of false egoic structures. So that has probably happened along the way. You've had to let things fall in order to free yourself for the next part of the journey. Now, as I was saying, the Three of Pentacles is an interesting energy in relation to spiritual ascension. This is a card about people working together and collaborating as a team. And the question in my mind is, do soul travelers really do that? And oh my God, that was funny, because as I said, soul traveler, I saw the word S-O-L-E, soul, and the word S-O-U-L, soul, basically sound the same, don't they? So that's funny. So I guess when I say soul traveler, you can take it both ways. So like I was saying, I do see collaborations, but they seem largely informal, and that's just how I've seen it, experienced it. People do encourage each other and exchange pearls of wisdom. I don't see too much in terms of partnerships or teams, certainly not in the way we would see them in traditional organizations or workplaces. So I haven't seen that in the spiritual community, but maybe that's coming, because this is a collaboration card. And when you look at this image, the 3 pentacles are joined. They are forming like this triad of energies. And each pentacle here, it's being shown in a different primary color, and then the bond between them and the next pentacle shows those colors merging and forming a secondary color. So this is taking me to color theory, and that's of course how the color wheel progresses, and in fact that's how the rainbow colors progress. And we had rainbow colors in that 2 of Wands card. So I do feel like there's something here. So there might be different soul travelers who have been ascending the same mountain. But that doesn't mean, even though they're all trying to get to the same place, that doesn't mean that they have the same energetic signature or the same gifts and abilities. And I guess Spirit is saying that at some point there is the potential for these different energetic beings to start exchanging energies. And when they do this, new energies can be created. And that's exactly like the color wheel, where we get those secondary colors when the primary colors get mixed together. So, I'm now getting in my mind those shows where different characters represent different energies or elements, and then they come together and they can form something consolidated that's even more powerful than each character on their own. So there's a few examples coming to mind. So I think the Care Bears were a bit like that, and then Power Rangers and Voltron, things like that. So I'm picturing that kind of thing in my mind. And with this card being in the spirit, like in the present position, it's almost like Spirit is saying these collaborations may be starting to happen for some people, or maybe they're already happening for some people. Maybe I'm just not aware of it. Okay. But looking at that image of the sacred mountain, we are seeing a civilization that's established at the top. So that's Machu Picchu. And I guess if these soul travelers were all individually ascending the mountain, once they get to the top, they're not really traveling anymore, and they're not alone anymore, because they're all there in this same place at the same time. And so yeah, I guess at the top, you're not really a soul traveler anymore. You're in Machu Picchu with the other pilgrims who've made it to the top, and you're going to figure out what you're going to contribute to the Machu Picchu community. And a community is about people working together and contributing to the functioning of that group by bringing their individual gifts and abilities. So I do feel like this card is talking about a community of highly ascended souls, which is very interesting. And wow, when I look over to the card in the future position, I see the star, and this is a big bright star that seems to be made of all the colors arranged just as they are in the color wheel. And in the center of the star, we have this pure white light where all these colors have come together in perfect balance. So what a gorgeous image that is. And this is such a gorgeous reading. The star is a major arcana card. It's a card about healing, and it relates to Aquarius. And I don't normally read it this way, but I'm thinking about how Aquarius relates to the 11th house in astrology, which really is about collectives and communities. And it's also about focusing on the greater good and higher ideals. And so if we are talking about a community of highly ascended individuals, that really is what they would be focused on, because, they do want to help. So the bright star is perhaps their vision of how to help the world heal, and they're working together to be a guiding light for others to follow. Now, I saw something recently that was talking about the different waves of ascension, and how the first wave is the one that really forges the path, and then they teach others what they know, and then subsequent waves bring in new energies that might further enhance things. So maybe it's the subsequent waves that have the more powerful gifts, but the first wave were really the ones that had to be courageous and wander off into uncharted territory. They really had no one to show them the way, so their journey was hard work all the way. They were guessing, they were figuring things out as they went. So I feel like maybe this is talking about the first wave of ascension. So these people have done the hard yards. They figured their way, So they tried to climb this mountain and they figured out how to do it and they got to the top. And now at the top they can show people the way. So love it, love it, love it. Now the last oracle card I didn't really talk about yet, and it's a winter card. It's got the keywords introspection, difficulty, and hibernation. So there's a message that reads, it's a time for introspection. Be prepared for a challenge. Now, I have no doubt that this winter experience has been part of the soul journey, but it's talking about the tough parts of the journey when you felt like you were on your own and the environment that you were in was harsh and hostile, and you really had to find the inner strength that was necessary for you to stay committed to your journey to ascending this mountain. Now, I didn't talk about this card earlier, but in terms of where it fits in this storyline, I can only connect it to that Two of Swords past energy, because the Two of Swords here is the only card that's talking about a difficult time. You know, the Three of Pentacles is in the present position, and that's a card that says you're not alone anymore. You're very much part of something significant. And in the Star card, yeah, you're very much part of something significant, which is the future position. So certainly from the present and the future, you're not struggling on your own. So I guess this winter card relates to the past, and that's brilliant news because that means this winter is actually behind you. So the toughest part of the journey has already happened. So that's really sweet. Well done. You have got through the toughest challenges that you needed to face. You've made it through all that, and it's just going to get better from now on. You're perhaps in Machu Picchu now, meeting the new people who are also spiritual warriors who've also made it to Machu Picchu, and you're all going to be working together on something that means a lot to all of you. You're all going to be helping each other and supporting each other. This is a really, really good story. I like it a lot. But now I'm thinking back to that first message, that bonus message I started with, because maybe it does link into this reading. So maybe this is why the past doesn't matter anymore. So you're in Machu Picchu and someone calls you to tell you that you've been betrayed and deceived and blah, blah, blah. But really that's something that happened back in your hometown, and now you're in Machu Picchu. What happened back then really has no bearing on your story anymore, because you're not living there anymore and you know you're not going back there. So it's like that chapter of your life has ended and you have no interest in it anymore. And this new chapter of your life is where you want to be. So that's really what I'm getting here. So I do feel like maybe that's why Spirit did things the way, so that's why Spirit made things go the way they did with these two readings that I've ended up integrating. So I think Spirit wanted me to get them together. So yeah, so whatever that betrayal is or deception is, it really doesn't matter anymore. And here we are. This is our last slide. I hope you enjoyed that reading. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment if you feel guided to. I do appreciate those as well. Thank you to everyone who is subscribed. Your support is greatly appreciated. And that's it. Take care, everyone, and I hope that I'll see you again in another video.